Jamie had always considered himself lucky. Lucky to have survived the First Contact War. Lucky to have made it through 3 tours on the Outer Rim colonies. And lucky to still be breathing after the disaster on Kepler 4 for to be. But as the heavy metallic door of the detention cell slammed shut behind him, sealing him in a space no larger than a cargo container, he began to question whether his luck had finally run out. The Galactic Confederation didn't believe in rehabilitation. They believed in containment. And Jamie, accused of smuggling restricted human technology across 3 star systems, was now their latest problem to be stored away. Great, he muttered, his eyes adjusting to the dim bioluminescent strips running along the ceiling. Just perfect. That's when he saw her. She sat in the corner of the cell, perfectly still, like a statue carved from pale marble. Her skin had an ethereal quality that seemed to absorb and reflect the faint light simultaneously. Dark hair cascaded over her shoulders, and when she finally looked up at him, her eyes gleamed with an unsettling crimson hue. "Human," she said, her voice like silk dragged across broken glass. "How unfortunate for you." Jamie's hand instinctively went to his hip, where his plasma pistol should have been. Of course, it wasn't there. The Confederation guards had stripped him of everything except his gray detention jumpsuit. "Let me guess," Jamie said, keeping his distance. "You're one of the Sanguinari." The woman's lips curved into something that might have been a smile. "Zendaya," she corrected. "And yes, I am what your species so colorfully calls a space vampire." Jamie had heard stories about the Sanguinari. Everyone had. A species discovered on the dark side of a tidally locked world. Evolved to hunt in perpetual darkness, surviving on the bioenergy of other living creatures. The Galactic Confederation had declared them a Class 5 threat, dangerous, unpredictable, and to be avoided at all costs. And now he was locked in a cell with one. "This is insane," Jamie said, backing against the opposite wall. "This has to violate a dozen Confederation protocols. You can't just throw different species together like this." Zendaya tilted her head, studying him with the curiosity of a predator examining unfamiliar prey. "The Confederation cares little for protocol when it comes to beings they fear. They hope we'll eliminate each other, saving them the trouble of a trial." "Well, that's comforting," Jamie muttered. Hours passed. Jamie tried to sleep, but every time he closed his eyes, he could feel Zendaya's gaze upon him. She hadn't moved from her corner, hadn't spoken again. She simply watched with those unnerving crimson eyes. On the second day, or what he assumed was the second day, in the timeless void of the detention center, Jamie's rations arrived through a slot in the door. A single meal pack, designed to keep him alive, but nothing more. He tore it open and began eating the tasteless nutrient paste. "They haven't fed you," he observed, glancing at Zendaya. "They don't need to," she replied. "My kind can survive months without feeding, though it becomes uncomfortable." Jamie paused mid-bite. "How long have you been in here?" "For months, 17 days. He set down his meal pack. Despite every survival instinct screaming at him to stay away, despite everything he'd heard about the Sanguinari, something in her voice struck him. It wasn't hunger or malice, it was loneliness. "What did they arrest you for?" he asked. Zendaya's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "I tried to broker peace between my people and the Confederation. I traveled to 36 worlds, speaking about coexistence, about understanding. The Confederation declared me a revolutionary, a threat to the established order." Jamie laughed bitterly. "Yeah, they don't like that. I got arrested for selling human medical technology to species the Confederation deemed unworthy. Apparently, saving lives is illegal if you're not doing it through official channels." For the first time, something like respect flickered in Zendaya's eyes. "Then we are both criminals of conscience." Over the following days, they talked. Jamie told her about Earth, about humanity's stubborn refusal to stay within the boundaries others set for them. He spoke of the generation ships, of terraforming impossible worlds, of human determination to thrive where others said they couldn't. Zendaya shared stories of her world, of cities built in eternal darkness where her people had created art and music and philosophy that rivaled any civilization in the galaxy. She spoke of the prejudice her kind faced, hunted and feared simply for existing differently. "Your species fascinates me," Zendaya admitted one evening. "Humans are fragile, short-lived. and possess none of the natural advantages other species have evolved. Yet you've spread across the galaxy like wildfire. You refuse to accept limitations. Jamie grinned. It's kind of our thing. We're just stubborn to know when to quit. On the 8th day, Zendaya's condition had deteriorated. Her movements became slower, more labored. The hunger was taking its toll. You need to feed, Jamie said, already knowing what he was about to do. I won't take from you, Zendaya said firmly. I've gone this long. I can endure. Endure what? Until you die. Until they've proven we can't coexist. Jamie rolled up his sleeve. I've read about your kind. You don't need to kill to feed. You can take just enough to survive. Jamie, no, listen, he interrupted. They locked us in here hoping we'd destroy each other. Let's prove them wrong. Let's show them that even the species they fear most can find common ground. Zendaya stared at him for a long moment, something ancient and vulnerable in her eyes. Why would you do this? Because someone once told me that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our capacity to extend trust even when it's terrifying. Especially then. Slowly, carefully, Zendaya approached. Her hand was cold as it took his arm, her touch gentle. When her fangs pierced his skin, Jamie felt a strange warmth flow through him. And he understood in that moment that the Sanguinari weren't monsters, they were simply misunderstood. 3 weeks later, when the Confederation finally processed their cases, they found Jamie and Zendaya sitting together, sharing stories and laughter. The guards were baffled. The administrators were furious. It shouldn't have been possible. But humanity had never been particularly concerned with what should or shouldn't be possible. And in a cold detention cell, 2 prisoners from feared species had done what the entire Galactic Confederation couldn't. They'd built a bridge. End.